Today on the show, they're yapping on Twitter. Does that mean we'll finally get to see the fight we've been waiting for the better half of a decade? Pacquiao v. Mayweather.
Sex in sports. Should athletes abstain on game day?
Plus, was Johnny Manziel's terrible start his fault or just the result of being on the Browns? And Andrew Luck, master of smack talk. It's all coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? Back once again. Welcome to episode 33 of the Sean and Bo Show. I'm Sean O'Donnell, as always, joined by my co-host, Bo Greer. And Bo is just in a happy mood. His Cowboys are still performing, and it's almost mid-December. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
God.
Christmas does come early for all you little boys and girls out there waiting on Santa Claus. All you got to do is become a Cowboys fan, suffer through a ton of 8-8 seasons and disappointment, and Christmas will come early to you. I love it, Sean.
Do you want it now or do you want it later? Because I'm only going to play it once.
Oh, just give it to me now. That's what the people want.
How about them Cowboys?
Yes. And after that little how about them Cowboys, we all know the famous video. Jimmy Johnson that was after the NFC Championship. They still had to go win a Super Bowl. True Cowboys fashion, we always get ahead of ourselves. And yes, if you follow us on Twitter, I am putting together my playoff menus. You've seen where I will feature pork, Sean.
Yeah, what was that all about?
The first playoff game. You know, I need to let people know it's serious this year. It's really happening. I'm not afraid about Indianapolis. We'll get into all that later, but I'm not afraid of the last two games. I'm not worried about what's going on now. I'm starting to think about home field advantage, who we're playing, and where we're going.
Well, at least you have your priorities in order.
Yes, I do.
Well, Johnny Manziel, of course, had his first career start in the NFL, and, well, it did not quite go as scripted. 2 interceptions, I think just 80 total passing yards. Manziel called it the poorest performance in his entire career on any level, and, well, that's pretty accurate. He looked just like a boy amongst men out there, Bo.
Yeah, first time that he experienced a team really game planning for him, preparing to stop him. The biggest thing that I saw in that game, Sean, multiple plays where Johnny Manziel received the snap in the shotgun, and there was a defensive lineman in his face in less than 2 seconds. I mean, it was just bang, bang. Nobody can do anything with that. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, I don't care who they are. There is no book written on how to move the ball down the field with D linemen sacking you in 0.2 seconds. You know, it's crazy. Don't overreact to this. I think this debut is more a product of a horrible franchise, a bad team with a few bright spots on defense, and a great coaching staff. I think what the Cleveland Browns coaching staff done this year is Coach of the Year material. You have to just step back, Sean, and don't hit the panic button. If you're the GM or owner of this team, what are you doing today? Are you worried about this?
Drinking, probably? I don't know.
Yeah, drinking a lot. The coach, you know, he came out, said that he's behind Manziel. I think going forward, you can't go back. You can't take him out now. Hoyer has to hit the road.
Well, NFL Films guru Greg Cosell wrote earlier today, the problem is Manziel didn't want to stay in the pocket. He lacks any feel for the pocket, has almost no pocket patience and discipline, and is very quick to move and play what I call random football outside the structure of the offense.
Cosell, like that, I always wonder, is there a list of prepared statements inside of a computer that sits at these major news media stations? Because you could have probably put 15 articles in front of me, and each article be about a Michael Vick, a Colin Kaepernick, or a Johnny Manziel, and those phrases will be in that article. That's not original. I watched that game. Manziel tried to stay in the pocket so long, and then when he finally would scramble out, if he could, it was too late. You know, I even heard people who were watching the game, Hall of Famers sitting behind a booth getting paid way more than I do to watch football, saying the same thing. How can you put this on this kid? He's receiving the snap, and there are defenders in his face. That right there is not a good analysis of that game.
Well, he went on. He said, can he get there with experience? Maybe. But he has a lot to overcome to be a high-level NFL quarterback. He's a small quarterback with average arm strength and almost no pocket skills and discipline at this point. And the part of that I would have to agree watching that game was that Manziel just does not look like he has an NFL caliber arm. It just doesn't look strong enough. It doesn't zip it around. I mean, it's one thing if you're a Peyton Manning and have the cognitive ability to overcome maybe the lack of physical strength, but for Manziel, I expect him to bounce back in this game. I think he's going to play a little bit better. I don't think it's going to be quite as abysmal, but do you think he has a future in the NFL?
He's a part of that school of guys that Marcus Mariota is a part of. They throw to wide open receivers. You watch the games, you're like, how did that guy become so open? When they were in college, they had the privilege of playing with all the other top 5 recruits and candidates because they went to Oregon or Texas A&M. You get to the NFL, the speeds are the same. A lot of those guys were all Americans. They were all top 5 blue chippers. You're not going to sneak anything by them. You're not going to trick them. You're going to have small windows and tight pockets to throw into. Right now, looking at Johnny Manziel, it is hard for me to judge that because I watch Russell Wilson, I watch Colin Kaepernick, and they can do it. I don't think they have arms. I mean, Colin Kaepernick, yeah, he can throw the ball 100 miles an hour. But if you look at a lot of his passes when he was successful at San Francisco, they were touch passes across the middle to Vernon. He was dropping it in there. And that's reading and knowing your offense. I don't think Johnny's there yet. It's a mental block with him right now and a lack of experience.
Well, I thought was interesting about Manziel is that, I can't remember what article I read this in, but they were saying, the management was quick to point out that he didn't show up late to the game. He just always shows up an hour before kickoff and starts his warm up. So you have to kind of question whether he has the work ethic to study film, to kind of raise his football IQ, as they like to say, or if he's just more interested in hanging out with Bieber and going clubbing.
Yeah, you do have to ask that. And come ready. You got to see these guys and with the money that they're making and the status that they're instantly given. I mean, he is a part of the power class of Cleveland. He didn't grow up in that city. There's people that have lived their whole life in that city, built businesses, and they can't get a table in the corner booth at the favorite restaurant like Johnny Manziel. There's a lot that comes with that. You get the key to the city, you got to put in a little extra time because the guys like Manning and Breeze, they put in that extra time. They set the standard.
And by the way, how played out is it that whenever anybody makes a play on Johnny Football, they have to do the money sign? I mean, I understand he kind of brought this upon himself, but it's played out. It's not, you're not clever after the 12th time somebody does it.
Yeah, and you can thank ESPN because they put it on TV. Every time somebody would do the money sign, they would highlight it in their highlights. And I just think it is so silly. It's going to become like the wave to where a lot of stadiums don't do it anymore because it was cool in 1992 to do the wave.
I like how they have to point that out whenever the wave's going on. Like the announcers have to tell you, in case you're wondering, they're not cheering at the players or what's going on in the game. They're doing the wave.
Yeah, they're doing the wave. It used to be the thing to go to a ballpark and get the wave started. Now everybody's on their cell phone.
Well, it used to be more of a baseball thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was strictly a baseball deal.
Well, we talked about this a few weeks ago. We labeled Andrew Luck quite possibly the biggest dork in all of professional sports because, well, after he gets hit, he likes to congratulate opposing players. It sounds a little something like this.
Nice hit, buddy. Quick hit, sizzle. All right, nice play, buddy. Good job, boy.
So we were kind of making fun of him and how cheesy that whole spiel is, but apparently it's actually working, I guess you could say. ESPN had this article today that quoted some players that just haven't heard this before, like Washington Redskin linebacker Ryan Kerrigan, who said, in all the years I've played football, I have never heard anything like it, nothing even close. Philadelphia Eagles defensive back Nolan Carroll also said, I'm like, what's going on? Aren't you supposed to be mad? So then I'm the one who gets ticked off because of an upbeat attitude isn't something you see. But apparently this is nothing new to the NFL. One of his former college teammates at Stanford, Redskins linebacker Trent Murphy, said his idea of trash talk is complimenting people. So he's been doing this a long time. I guess he just doesn't. I don't know if he's strategizing, if he's trying to get in people's heads, or if he's just a nice guy that can't really talk smack.
Yeah, it's just everybody's wired a little bit different. And, anybody who walks around America that's in the public eye, you're an NFL quarterback, and your beard is a beard that can be compared to those that you would see in one of those Jackass movies where they'll shave someone's undercarriage and they'll glue it to somebody's face and tell them that it's like animal hair.
It looks like the one Amish guy that can't quite grow the full beard, but
Yes.
still giving it his all.
That's the best one right there. He is an Amish guy that can't quite grow a beard. My kids see it, they cringe. Like, I don't know if they're scared and my son always asks me, why, Dad? Why does he have that? And I don't think my son's being funny anymore. He's just seriously concerned that Andrew Luck really doesn't care about his personal appearance. Please shave that, man. Maybe the Cowboys will knock it off for him this weekend.
Yeah, you can hope so. Well, earlier this season, of course, the Bills got a ton of snow, and it was so much snow that they even asked fans to come to the stadium and help shovel it out. But sort of the logistics of that whole situation and all the first responders, having to be at the stadium instead of actually helping people who are in dire need meant that the Buffalo Bills played away. They played at Ford Field, the Lions Stadium, and they finally returned the favor, Bo. They actually sent the Detroit Lions a couple big old platters of wings and some deep dish pizzas, and the Lions really appreciated it. Not only the food, but of course the Buffalo Bills beating the Packers.
That was awesome.
So that's the way you return a favor to a team.
Yeah, I mean, to go out there, and if you see these pictures of these wings and this pizza, golly,
Looks good.
I could just eat the paper. Just let me eat that. Put some salt on it. That was awesome. And to get the win,
I
too,
love food when it comes in those big foil catering serving.
Yeah.
It just means it's going to be good.
Yeah, it means that they designed this for you to devour. They didn't put it in anything fancy to look at. This is eating material here.
The Bears got absolutely pummeled by the Saints, but they were also having some troubles that had nothing to do with the game on the field. In fact, the chairman of the Chicago Bears, George McCaskey, was involved in a bit of an altercation. Now, what happened was he was going to go to his seats and watch the rest of the game, and he realized, nope, there are some Saints players that are currently occupying those seats. So he exchanged pleasantries with those Saints fans. I think I said players, fans, and was going to, go get stadium security to get them the heck out of his seats. So as he finished talking to them, he turned around. He was going to head to the concourse area, and somebody pushed him in the back. So I guess a Bears fan came to his aid by tackling that Saints fan. You know that they wanted to do that all game long.
Yeah.
And what was funny to me about this whole thing were the details once this emerged, once they caught the guy that pushed him and ejected him from the stadium. This is a 58-year-old man, though. 58.
Oh, boy.
Don't you have some money at that point? Some class?
Yeah.
Something?
Some people never grow up, Sean. Some people will forever be teenagers trying to cut in line. Like
and how are you
those are the other people.
How are you going to do that when you're not even playing at home? I mean, I could see it if they're,
Dude, I imagine the same seat stillers, line cutter, speed up and cut you off in traffic to get one car ahead of you when it's rush hour and nobody's going over 30 mile an hour. Those are all the same people. And I'm tired of it. Like when you go to some sort of like workforce training and they order some terrible pizza or some crappy food and they stick you all in a room. And there's always like the 5 people that will cut line. It's like we're all adults here. I'm the biggest guy.
Don't cut food line in front of
Bo.
Bo.
I'm the hungriest.
Yeah.
Nobody's hungrier than me. How would you like it if I just started bullying my way through the line to get to the lasagna and salad? But no, you do it. They'd call security.
Are you telling me you've never thrown maybe a little shiv, little elbow to get at those baked potatoes at the training table?
I have knocked over a few old ladies at a Golden Corral, but we're not going to say
hey, you're
where.
a punter. You don't need that potato. Get out of my way. Coming up on the show, we're going to be talking about the future of the Bears. It's not looking good for the head coach. Plus, sex and sports. Should athletes abstain right before competition? And could we be getting the big fight we've been waiting for, Pacquiao Mayweather, and a big mumps outbreak strikes one professional sports league? We'll touch on that as well. It's all coming up on the Sean and Bo Show. Hey, folks, thank you very much for listening to the show. Reminder, you can always check out past episodes for free. Go to seanandboshow.podomatic.com. And if you're thirsty for even more sports talk, a new subreddit for you to check out. Go to reddit.com/r/Reddit Sports Radio. You'll find a great collection of podcasts on all kinds of different sports, from the English Premier League to NHL to our show. Check it out, reddit.com/r/Reddit Sports Radio.
Welcome back to the Sean and Bo Show. And if you were just with us, yes, we were talking about the Chicago Bears and the debacle that is that NFL franchise. And there's just more and more news. If you want to talk about the quarterback, you could talk about that. But right now, we're just going to talk flat out about the coach.
Well, you know, I mean, I don't mean to toot my own horn or anything, but last show, Bo, I told the listeners that I think the Bears are in for a very dark few years. I don't see this as a franchise that's on the upswing. It's the exact opposite. It's just going to get worse for a while. And they've apparently made the first move or consideration that might ameliorate the terrible, bad, awful, boring. I mean, that was the worst football game I've seen all year. Like, I'll watch any football game, and by halftime, I was like playing video games and had it muted in the background. They didn't even care. But Dan Bernstein, who's a senior columnist for CBS Chicago, tweeted, "Source, Bears ownership met last night. Trestman likely fired at season's end. Emery's fate still undecided." Yeah. So, who's the next coach going to be? Could it be Harbaugh?
That is the best thing I've heard you say since we started this podcast.
Wow, that sucks. No, but the thing I've heard about Harbaugh is that his wife doesn't want to leave the West Coast, and that's going to be an issue if he's going to take any other coaching position, because the vacancies are going to be in New York and Chicago. I don't see the Chargers uplifting their coaching staff or anything like that. Niners are the only, he's coaching the Niners. They're the only team that's going to be looking for a coach, and it's not going to be Harbaugh. Pete Carroll's not going to retire yet, so he's going to have to leave the West Coast. So.
You know, that stuff, I used to laugh at it, but my wife tells me all the time, you coach anywhere east, you're going by yourself. You can just come see me in the off season. It's true. Your wife really does start to shape things, and I can imagine when the bank account is as big as theirs, the Harbaugh dynasty, it's more than football now. There's a little money to go with that family name. And they got a nice house on the West Coast. The weather's great. She has friends. That's going to be a tough call to go back to those winners of Chicago. They're Midwesterners. They know what it's like. They know what that's like. Right. It's not going to be easy for them. But to get back on to Trestman, I remember when this guy came in, I joked because he looked like a coach from the 1950s. He does not mix with the culture of the Bears. I mean, even just a few years ago, that defense and the staple, Brian Urlacher, I never thought I'd be saying this. I thought Urlacher left at a great time. I know there were some injuries. He still felt like he wanted to play, but he walked out the door. Baltimore Ravens, they do the opposite. Whenever they have an old defensive pro, Ray Lewis, they let him stay around until he was pretty much ready to go.
I thought Ray Lewis was going to start crying after that game, by the way. He just seemed so dejected by the disaster of football on that field.
Yeah.
He took it personally.
Yeah, and you wonder what a guy like Ray Lewis, or in this case, Brian Urlacher, meant to that locker room, that defense, that team. When Gruden was talking in a broadcast about benching wide receivers for jumping off sides. Ladies and gentlemen, I coach high school football. That's unacceptable on any level. When a wide receiver is jumping off sides, that is the biggest lack of focus, not paying attention to detail.
All you got to do is watch the ball.
Watch it.
It's pretty simple. I think I could do that without messing it up.
I want to say there were two. There wasn't just one. I think there were two receivers offsides in that game, false starts. That's just unacceptable. So you know that the reins are off. The wheels are coming off. That thing is on fire. Sean said it last week. It is going to be a dumpster fire. I didn't believe him. Credit, round of applause to Sean because
I'll take that right now.
Go ahead. Cue it up. Let's get it right.
Yeah, it feels good. Yeah.
There you go. I didn't see it. You still have 40 water back there that can push the rock. You got Cutler with a mega arm. He can throw it to Bennett. That can give you production. Heck, look at the Chiefs. They can win 8 games with that much production from the tight end and running back. Why can't the Bears do it? Defense. They let the defense get away. That was what the Bears were built on since the 85 season. That's how they got back to a Super Bowl with Rex Grossman at quarterback. Don't try to fix something that is not broken. The next coach that comes in for the Bears better be a defensive-minded guy, get back to doing what they did.
Like Harbaugh?
There you go.
It's a good fit. Well, I was curious your take on this, Bo, as a former D1 college football player. Aaron Rodgers is, of course, dating celebrity Olivia Munn, who's quite the smoke show. And recently on a TV appearance, she unveiled the fact that he's not getting any on game day.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's been a lot of talk about this. Former NFL player weighed in on Twitter, Lee Bodine, who said the following. First, it's hard to do it on actual game day because usually you only have a few hours before most games start at 1 p.m., but let's face it, you only need a few minutes anyway. Second, quarterbacks don't have to worry about having heavy legs. They barely run. The only thing QBs should not do is have sex, quote, alone. That'll wear out their arm. But for real, it's 50-50. Like most of you know, sometimes afterwards you're exhausted and just want to lay down. But other times when you're done, you feel extremely energized and think you can take on the world. The problem is you don't know which will occur if you do it on game day, but whenever they figure out what causes you to be energized after sex, it'll be banned by the NFL and considered PEDs. Performance enhancing, you fill in the D.
My experience with that, it was something that was often discussed by players. With a lot of the linemen, the bigger guys, Wednesday, Thursday night was usually the cutoff. For myself, it was a Thursday night, Sean. That's testosterone. It's like a free HGH shot in your hip.
Right.
Letting that testosterone build. And fighters will tell you, wrestlers will tell you. That's where I learned it.
Well,
was high school wrestling.
No, you know who will tell you? Mickey from Rocky. Remember this?
Listen, kid, you lay off that pet shop day. Women weaken legs.
Yeah, but I really like this girl, you know?
But let her train you!
Okay, no more fooling around.
Okay, I hit it.
Women weaken legs, huh?
Now that sentiment is hilarious, but is there actual science behind it? That was what I was curious about.
He's molding men right there. That is a life lesson for a lot of young men. Women weaken legs. Live your life by that. Think of how many young men's lives could have been different, Sean, if they just would have listened to the Mick.
Now, there have actually been scientific studies done on this, believe it or not, and I'm not quite sure how they did those studies, but I'm sure they were highly entertaining. Let's see here. Sports medicine physician Dr. Jordan Metzel did a study on it, and he said, quote, "It's often talked about, but has not been shown to be true. There are lots of factors that could account for how a player performs." And this is an interesting quote back from former New York Yankees manager Casey Stench. He said, "It's not the sex that wrecks these guys. It's staying up all night looking for it." So, I mean, I wonder if I know in women, for example, like Ronda Rousey has talked about this. In women, if you have sex, it increases your testosterone. So she's talked about how even before fights, it's time to go down to that hotel bar, I guess.
Man, I just wish I could get called when they're doing these studies.
But you're saying that was a well-known thing.
Yeah, players talk about that. I learned it actually in high school from an upperclassman that was a wrestler. He was like, guys, don't do anything before a major tournament. You're going to go out there and wrestle 5 matches. You're going to be exhausted, lose a lot of fluids. That testosterone, it is amazing. And you could see guys that would break that rule, go out a night before, be with their girlfriend, and they would struggle the next day. They'd get to that 4th or 5th match in the tournament, lose it. And you'd know he didn't do what he needed to do. And you know,
well he did.
Well, he did what he needed to
Yeah.
do. But people think that those pledges that you do with kids and high schoolers it's across the line. But the teams that do it win state titles, and there are schools out there, a lot of them tend to be in the Bible Belt, where there are players that will take pledges for the whole season. This whole season, take a pledge.
That's why I was a member of the debate team, though.
you go.
Don't have to worry about that. Speaking of fighters, we might finally be getting the fight we've been waiting for 7, 8 years now. Pacquiao v. Mayweather. During an interview he did with Showtime, Mayweather said, quote, "We were ready. Let's make it happen. May 2nd, Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. Let's do it."
Yeah.
So I guess kind of exciting, even though Pacquiao's kind of over the hill at this point. I don't think he has the same power he used to. Mayweather, well, he's just as boring as ever, still does the whole defensive strategy. So, it's going to be a huge draw if it does happen. But Manny Pacquiao took to Twitter and let his opinions on the fight be known. He said, "At Floyd Mayweather, don't be and I love this phrase, boxing humbug. Let's give the fans the fight they want. They have waited long enough."
Yeah, Manny Pacquiao's definitely feeling the Christmas spirit there. In 2009, when this was first discussed, it would have been the greatest fight to ever take place. This fight here, now at this time, Sean, it's lost its luster.
Yeah, agreed.
We'll still order it. Me and my friends, it's just an excuse for us to pound a lot of beer in the garage and our wives not get as mad as they normally do when we drink beer in the garage.
Sports.
Yeah, sports. That's why they created them, is for beer. And wings and pizza, but that's a whole nother topic. Gosh, I'm still thinking about those pictures of that wings and pizza that the Bills sent to the Lions. Can we get some of that? Do we know where that place is? Think we could send Clem over there to FedEx them like next day? I want some of that action. But
We can try.
yeah, let's work on that.
I like Pacquiao's further explanation and reaction to this. He said, "Mayweather has reached a dead end. He has nowhere to run but to fight me. I will try my best to make this a thrilling and entertaining fight, but I doubt if he's going to engage me in a slugfest. You all know his fighting style. Most of his previous fights, if not all, induced us to sleep."
Yeah, they're aged now.
And it's true. It's true. I hate watching Mayweather fights.
Yeah.
It's such a letdown. It's like you're just watching him dance around the whole time. I mean, if you're a boxing purist, yeah, of course, he's got great footwork, great skill and all that. But, just, for us Joe Six-Packs that, want to cap the week off with an exciting fight Saturday night to enjoy with those beers,
Yeah.
Mayweather just is not the guy you want to see.
The shame is with boxing, the best fights are on ESPN too. I see the best boxing when I'm looking at some replay on HBO or Showtime. The premier fights that we order are always a letdown. I mean, I can't remember the last time somebody was in a ring, final round, bloody faces, toe-to-toe, let's hit each other until someone passes out. No, that doesn't go on anymore. There's barely any cuts. There's barely any sweat. I can never tell if it's the water that they sprayed on them in the corner that's dripping off or if that is actual sweat. Boxing has changed so much. I remember as a kid watching these fights with my grandfather and my dad, and it was something that we would go to the playground and discuss. If you talked about boxing on a playground with kids nowadays, they're going to look at you like you're foolish.
Oh, you mean MMA, UFC?
Yeah, that's exactly what they'll say. And right now, I believe there's a lawsuit against the MMA because they're a monopoly.
Yeah, monopoly.
It just shows.
That's an interesting story right there.
Yeah.
But at least the UFC gives you the fights you want to see.
Yeah.
And if this fight does go down, I think it's going to be the biggest draw ever just because so many people have been waiting for this fight for so long. But like you said, it's lost its luster. It's not what it could have been, which is a real bummer for the sport.
My son will be close to driving. It's crazy. When they first talked about this, he was like a baby. And I'm thinking, by the time this fight takes place, he's dang near going to be 9, 10 years old. That's crazy. It's way too long, boxing.
Meanwhile, the NHL is dealing with quite the disgusting outbreak, mumps, Bo. Mumps, yeah. In today's day and age, people are getting mumps, and it's affected a lot of people. In fact, may rise up to 14 soon, including the sort of league's figurehead, Sidney Crosby, who, if you've seen pictures of him lately, he looks like the dad from American Dad. It's just his whole chin. It's just
Stan Smith.
Yeah, he looks disfigured. But, Bo, I brought this story up to you, and you didn't know exactly what the symptoms of mumps were. So I have this article here in front of me from, let me get this person some credit here, This is Tara Heil, who said that mumps symptoms include fever, headache, muscle aches, fatigue, and loss of appetite before the salivary glands swell up, leading to the large characteristic humps or lumps on either side of a person's neck and jaw that give the disease its name. There is no cure or treatment for mumps, which clears up in 1 to 2 weeks, but complications, though rare, are pretty serious. Get this, Bo. Deafness, inflammation of the ovaries or breasts in females, inflammation of the brain or spinal cord, and more commonly, inflammation of the testicles in males, which can sometimes cause fertility problems. Oh, God, I don't know if I'd rather get mumps or that MRSA outbreak that was going on at the Bucks a couple of years ago.
That's horrible. Like either one of those, especially this close to the holiday, you're thinking this time of year I need to go shopping for the kids and family, and I have a giant swollen gland in my neck, and yes, those things between my legs, they're swollen too. That's horrible, buddy. Horrible.
Awful. The outbreak has already affected 2 referees and at least a dozen players on 5 teams, most likely starting with the St. Louis Blues in mid-October, then Anaheim Duck players and Penguin players and New Jersey Devils and New York Rangers. So, this isn't like the MRSA outbreak in that it seems to be, at this point, league-wide, which is scary.
There's going to be somebody, some organization that is going to take the blame for this. There's something that is contaminating these guys, and it's getting to each and every team. I don't know if it's on the jerseys or they're getting them made at. What's going on? They need to fix it. That's scary.
Well, basically why this is happening is when the mumps vaccine was really highly recommended in the 70s, all these players got it. But later on, medicine and science figured out that you kind of have to have a booster, a second one. And by the time this science came down the pike, it was like the early 90s. So they're suspecting that a lot of these NHL players, refs, et cetera, never got that second shot.
Wow. Vaccines.
But I mean, what a bummer, though. If you're like a big NHL fan, and don't get me wrong, I really only watch like Stanley Cup and Olympic hockey. I'm not a huge hockey guy, but if you are you gonna go to a game?
Yeah,
I think I'd rather sit this one out in the sports bar and watch it on a big screen, Bo.
Yeah, whenever the players,
I don't need anything in my undercarriage swollen.
Hey, when the guys who are in tip-top physical condition with immune systems through the roof are coming down with this, the guy that's going to put down 20 wings and 6 beers, you should beware. Steer clear of that arena.
Well, coming up on the show, we're going to speculate about who's going to be the NFL MVP, plus some college bowl games get going this weekend, and we'll talk NFL picks, and could there be a sea monster in California? I say yes. We'll talk about it coming up on the Sean and Bo Show.
Hello, all you loyal Sean and Bo Show listeners. This is Bo of the Sean and Bo Show. Just reminding you to follow us on Twitter at Sean and Bo Show. And if you haven't checked us out yet, there are a ton of celebrity interactions and just me tweeting out about the games that I'm watching. Maybe you might get lucky and see a picture of Bigfoot or some footage of Man Bear Pig. There's all kinds of cool stuff to check out at Sean and Bo Show on Twitter.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Sean and Bo Show. Now, if you're a regular listener, you know that my little catchphrase at the end of the show is tip your pizza man. So I'm somebody that can appreciate a good tip. You should reward people in the service industry that take care of you, and they're going to take care, they're going to take care of you. You take care of them. They're going to remember it. Okay. Yeah. It's just a good policy. People like Scottie Pippen and Tiger Woods that don't tip well, shame on you. You're rich. Somebody that doesn't even play anymore. Chad Johnson left a monster tip because Sundays are slow if you're a waitress or waiter. It was a $351 tab. Ocho Cinco, $300 tip. Love it. Well, not exactly. 392-cent tip, which if you're a math major, you know when added to 351.92 does not equal 651.92. He's a football player, not a mathematician. But regardless, the sentiment was strong. He wrote on there, quote, "Sundays are slow. I hope this helps. I love you." I got to say, man, I always thought Ocho Cinco was like the more lovable version of T.O. Like yeah, I guess you could call him a prima donna, but it just always seemed to be more of the playful variety, you know? Like he just seemed like a good guy.
Yeah. I just remember this guy I met in my coaching, football world. You go to camps and things like that. This gentleman, he's like, yeah, I played junior college football with Ocho, and 1 year before he moved on, he was telling everybody, help me lead the conference in TDs and receptions. And when I go pro, I'm getting everybody a car. And he's like, I'm still waiting on that car. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a promise that wasn't going to be fulfilled. But just in talking with him, he had nothing but positive things to say about Ocho Cinco. So seems to me that he is exactly what you said. He's the easier version of T.O. You can hang out with the guy. Yes, he does love himself, but he might love himself a little bit less than Terrell Owens did.
Now, before the show, and we were prepping, Bo said that he wanted to talk NFL MVP. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea, Bo. Let's do that. But I just realized that this was just an opportunity for Bo to sneak in more Cowboys talk, because I was saying to myself, who is going to be the NFL MVP? Brady? No. Manning? No, definitely not. Rodgers? Possibly. Oh, he wants to talk about DeMarco Murray, the man with the broken hand.
Yes.
Take it away, Bo.
Murray, he set some NFL records this year. He is carrying a team on his back. And right now, he is the type of player to where he just went through this hand surgery for the broken hand from the Philly game. And he has people in Cowboys Nation, a little nervous. We know how important he is to what we're doing. But someone else that should be on that list, I believe, is Tony Romo. I believe if you look at all of the stats, he is actually outperforming some of the guys that you just mentioned this year. And I have to, really step back, Sean, and say, he's lost a bunch of games in December. We have rode this man into the ground, telling him he is the reason why the Dallas Cowboys have not made the playoffs and been successful. But he's thrown for, 4,000 yards plus every year. He's hit his TD marks. We finally get a little bit of defense, some turnovers. We get a running game, and we're winning. I think Tony Romo should be in that NFL MVP discussion also.
No, he should not be. But, I think it's funny about the Cowboys that you guys have been getting crapped on by commentators for not establishing a running game. And now that you finally have a back who's worth anything, you run him into the ground, and the man is now injured.
Yes, that's what you're supposed to do.
Way to go. Way to strike that balance, Cowboys.
No, we do have a good balance. It's just that, and Beasley's coming on. Cole Beasley is coming on strong. That is huge. We have been missing a Miles Austin type threat. That guy that's in the middle when everybody wants to double and triple team Des Bryant and Jason Witten's taken out of the equation. You need somebody else to throw the ball to. And Cole Beasley's coming on strong. I just think we need to step back and say, it's been a while since we've given the Cowboys their dues, and it's time.
All right, enough of this mess. We have the college football bowl season about to kick off this weekend, and some real exciting matches, Bo. Now, before we get to those matchups, something I and my friends have been rallying for as long as I can remember. How about this idea, Bo? You take the two worst teams in Division I college football, and they play in the Charmin Who Gives a Flush Toilet Bowl.
Oh, that is marketing. That's marketing genius right there. You could probably teach a class at one of the leading business schools in America.
Make it happen. There. The Toilet Bowl. Charmin. Who else could get in on the sponsorship there?
Because the reason I'm sitting here saying that's a great idea, what you would do is change the outlook of the college years of, probably 200 to 300 young men, and then give that program an opportunity to maybe get a couple recruits they would not have been able to get. Because, there are some teams that are just on hard times, and it's really not their fault. It's because their coaches are horrible, their university's going through buyouts, and they're playing nothing but pay-me games where you go get beat by Alabama by 60 and make $1 million.
Where would you play that, by the way? Like Odessa?
It has
Detroit,
to be
maybe.
It has to be a forgotten city. Like, your Detroit would be a good one. A little cold up there. I wouldn't want those kids to be subject to that weather.
Send them up there to Billings, Montana. Lovely destination city.
How about like an old Route 66 town? Just some old forgotten Route 66 town. We'll just put them out there on an old high school football field. Be perfect.
Santa Rosa, New Mexico presents.
There you go.
Now, speaking of the the games that are actually going to take place, Bo, what do we have for a lineup this week to look forward to bowl game wise?
Well, Saturday, if you're bored, nothing else to do, or maybe you get back from doing some of your Christmas shopping, you can turn on the New Orleans Bowl. That's going to feature Nevada and Louisiana Lafayette. I look for Nevada to just crush them in this game. And then, Sean and I, we get to show our state off. You guys are going to see a lot of cool commercials about things you have no idea about, like chili and aliens. New Mexico Bowl coming right at you. Utah State and UTEP. I look for this one to be 46-42.
You going to go this year?
I always buy a ticket and try to make it over there to support it. As you know, I played in the inaugural New Mexico Bowl in 2006, the very first bowl game in this state.
Now, it's sponsored by Gildan. What did you get for goodies? Like some new briefs?
No, not when I first took it. When I became a part of it, it was actually sponsored by our crooked governor. It was the money that was taken out of the taxpayers.
They give you some like state evidence or something like that as a swag bag.
We got a lot of unclaimed evidence. You got to run through the drug evidence locker at the local police station for 30 seconds. It was like supermarket sweep. It was fun.
Who wants a Beretta?
Yeah. This one doesn't have any serial numbers. You can have a lot of fun with it.
Speaking of Gildan, and I don't mean to disparage the wonderful sponsor of the New Mexico Bowl, but have you ever worn a Gildan T-shirt? I would rather wear one of those gowns they give you at the hospital. Gildan makes the most uncomfortable, crappy apparel. It's fitting, I guess, for the ball.
Oh man, it's really bad when you're looking for sponsorship and you end up with socks and underwear. I mean, there's so many companies out there willing to throw $1 million at something, and you get socks and underwear guy. And it's not Hanes, it's not Under Armour, it's Gildan.
Wow, exciting stuff.
Well, Las Vegas Bowl, that's going to be on ABC. That's the premier one. You're going to see Colorado State and Utah. This could be an exciting game if Colorado State could get over losing the coach. As we know, their coach went down to Florida.
It's not going to be exciting. It's going to be a beatdown.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's the number one running back. This guy, you got to check out the running back for CSU. He is a first-round draft pick in my eyes. If he falls to the second round, I would be surprised. Leads in touchdowns, I believe. And my sister-in-law actually has him in a couple classes. She's a professor up at Colorado State. Had him in, they were doing an exercise. And this was the beginning of the season before he let everybody in the nation know who he was. They had to write some papers, in regards to their life and things they want to do after school. And she finally told him, can you please just write something that's not about the NFL? And I had to clue her in. I'm like, this guy's going. I'm like, this is one of the few guys on a college campus that knows he's going, and he should play for 5 to 6 years plus.
Well, on to the professional game then. It's time to look playoff picture. It's kind of some concrete that's drawing as we speak. We're starting to see, of course, the Denvers and the New Englands of the world wrap up their division, lock it down. But looking at the NFC, there's still a lot of question marks, still a lot of interesting scenarios that could happen that could keep teams out or put them into the playoffs. So what do you see about that NFC playoff picture, Bo?
NFC playoff picture is really interesting right now. Last 2 weeks of football, get your popcorn ready, buy your beer, order your pizza. It's going to be some nice TV. Detroit was just given an early Christmas present by the Buffalo Bills when they took care of Green Bay.
And wings.
Yeah, and wings and pizza. Gosh, it doesn't get any better than that. So that right there is really interesting. Arizona keeps finding ways to win. I thought Kansas City was going to help everybody out. I thought Dallas could beat them. I mean, I'm tired of thinking.
Finding ways to win. They lost to the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, what?
Yeah, they lost to the Rams this last week.
They lost to the Rams?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Are you sure about that?
It was one of my L's.
Are you sure about that?
Oh, no, wait. No, you're right.
No.
No, I picked the Rams.
Yeah, there
No,
we go.
idiot, sorry.
Because I picked St. Louis. I was like, if you're going to give me another win, I'll take it.
No, yeah, we both picked the Rams.
Okay.
I tend to do this. I like to rewrite the history of what happened to NFL games just solely based on my own picks.
Oh, that's fine.
So, I just, if I picked them, they won. It's cool.
Well, ever since Ron Burgundy covered that first car chase, it's okay to do that. We just make up our own news in America, right? I could start reporting on your dog running in and out of the doggy door, and somebody would find that interesting in this country. We'll watch paint dry.
But no, Arizona, they do look strong. They're going to have some tasks in front of them. I mean, this week they have Seattle, but that's just one of these matchups that I was talking about that you just don't, depending on the outcome of these next 2 weeks, still a lot of question marks for some of these teams.
I'm so sick of the New Orleans, Carolina, Atlanta discussion. It's almost like we're forced to watch and care about teams that in any other scenario, we would just turn the channel. Right now, I'm looking at New Orleans, Carolina, Atlanta as 3 teams that can make the playoffs and exit in the first week. I mean, what are they going to do? They're not going to beat anybody. Who are they going to beat? But the NFL is still going to sell primetime slots. They're still going to make us watch these matchups and tell us, oh, look, these teams have subpar records and they're still in the playoff hunt. Not exciting TV. Turn it off. You're just going to be disappointed. If you're a fan of these teams, cool. I mean, everybody would love to have the worst season of their life and still be in playoff contention, but for what? A first-round beatdown by the Cowboys, first-round beatdown by Green Bay or Detroit. I mean, who wants that?
You can get one of those cool wild card team hats they give out.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is amazing to me, too. When you do go to cities and somebody's wearing that outfit, I'm like, oh, you like to be mediocre. You love to celebrate one game in the playoffs and done. Get out of here.
Well, I promise, because it has to happen at this point. It's getting so close that I'm going to go back and tally up the picks. Bo and I have been doing this since week 5, and I got to say it, I think he's getting awfully close. And I need to find out if I'm still ahead just so I can kind of make more conservative picks. I've purposely not counted up the tally just because I wanted the picks to be honest. But if I am being honest at this point, I need to do what I need to do to make sure that I don't get embarrassed by letting Bo win this competition, because it started off awfully ugly. But this last week, I went 10-6. Ugh. I'm letting my emotions dictate my picks at this point. I told y'all what I thought about my Chiefs last week. It's just I've got trauma going on. It's hard to see straight and make these picks accurately right now. Bo, I know you were real happy with how you did.
Yes, the formula is finally coming together.
Oh, so it went from a system and it is now a formula.
Yes, we got away from the system.
Are there beakers involved? Is there a Bunsen burner?
No, there's just a lot of math and guys in white coats. That's all it is. It's pretty simple, but for a guy like me to explain it to you, we don't have that kind of time.
White coats? Is your Rob Burlington? Where are you getting these?
Oh, man. Give it up.
All right. So
I'm going to catch you. Yeah. I know I am. I just feel it.
No, you're not. Okay. On to this week's NFL picks. Let me grab my paper here that I just threw on the ground. And let's see. We got a Thursday night game, the last one of the year. And boy, this is an exciting matchup, Bo. Your Tennessee Titans travel to Jacksonville. Throw out the record books. Spread in this game. Jacksonville by 3. Don't care. Not really even sure, but I'll take Vegas. I'll believe them.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get on the Jacksonville bandwagon for this one.
I hate when they do this. It started like a few years ago. 2 games on Saturday. So what do you call them? Thursday night football.
It's so silly.
Why do they do this?
That's the kind of stuff that I think like some TV station in Australia puts on their local news to be like, Americans are stupid.
Idiot Americans don't even know what day it is.
Yeah, somebody give them a calendar.
So those Saturday games, the first one, Philadelphia at Washington. McCoy now out for the year, so you're going to see a healthy dose of RG3. Spread in this one, Philadelphia by 7.5. Of course, coming off that loss to the Cowboys, I think they're going to rebound. Sanchez is going to win it.
Oh, this is going to sound so silly. Man, I'm caught up on this one because this Washington team and the NFC East. You have watched this conference, this division too long to know that Dallas can lose to them, Philly can lose to them. And what's going to happen right now in this game? I mean, I know you're going to go with the honest. It's tough, Sean.
I picked Philly, man.
It's just because I want Washington to win. I'll take Philly.
No, go with your gut. Go with your gut. You sure? Okay. All right. Second game, the nightcap features San Diego at San Francisco. I'm not a believer in San Francisco, as I've said plenty. San Diego is going to get it done, even though they're on the road. Spreading that one is San Francisco by 2.5. I say take San Diego in the money line.
Yeah, San Diego definitely needs this win. They're trying to stay in that playoff contention and battle the Chiefs in that last final Sunday. So they need this game. They want it. They're going to beat them.
Yep. On to Sunday, early games. Minnesota at Miami. I was curious, and you looked it up, Bo, if Miami still had any kind of scenario to squeak it into the playoffs if they win out, but no.
Yeah, they're basically hoping that Kansas City and San Diego just lose out. The only tiebreaker that they hold is over Cleveland, and Cleveland's behind them in the AFC playoff picture.
So Minnesota at Miami, spreading this one. Miami 6.5. Even though they don't have much to play for at this point, I think they're going to beat the Vikings.
Minnesota has been coming on strong. Bridgewater is making some plays. You just don't know where they are, though, because I always think in an NFL locker room, the last 3 weeks of the season, if you know you're out of the playoff picture, is a tough thing to manage. You got a bunch of millionaires, and everybody's already thinking about, I need to get ready for the next season so I can make this team and get another $3 million. I'm going to put my money on the Dolphins.
All right. Next one, Baltimore at Houston. By the way, are they going to stop this nonsense of J.J. Watt running out on a – hey, maybe there's a potential MVP.
Yeah.
You think that they would give it to Watt over DeMarco Murray if the Cowboys make it?
I think in order for a defensive player, which is not fair, I'm not saying I agree with this, to win an NFL MVP, it has to be consistent. I think a defensive player is judged on 3 years, 2 years of performance and staying at the top statistically than being judged on what he did just this year. It's too hard for
I
them.
hope they're just doing this offensive crap with Watt just as sort of trying to raise awareness about how awesome he is and maybe get him into that MVP talk. But if they keep this crap up, they're gonna take years off this guy's career. I mean, he's a great defensive player. Let him just be a great defensive player. He said he doesn't even know what the hell they're talking about in the offensive huddle. It just runs out there and tries to catch it. But, I mean, think smarter, think long-term. Quit doing this to J.J. Watt. Even if he likes it, even if he likes the spotlight, you got to think about the guy's career.
Well, you know what I think it is, Sean? It's finally happening. An NFL player got $100 million. Major League Baseball players, NBA players, they're used to getting tons of money. NFL owners don't write checks like that every day. And I really think that he takes up so much salary that the coach might be doing this. Things going behind the scenes that we don't know about. The coach could have told them, don't give him $100 million. Would you want to spend $100 million on a football player? Knowing how tough this league is and you don't have a premier quarterback. And you just put all that money on the defensive end, and you have another one that's sick right now or hurt or whatever's wrong with him, that if he ever gets healthy, Jadeveon Clowney, he could get $100 million.
I think they're doing it so that he doesn't start moonlighting as a professional wrestler. Because the dude looks like he could be in the WWE tomorrow. So they're hedging their investment there. But in this game, Baltimore at Houston, the spread is Baltimore by 5. I would take that. I would take the spread too. And I loved what Steve Smith had to say to a reporter that asked him about how his stamina was holding out because apparently he was ill. He said, "Ask my wife."
That man
vintage
is
Steve Smith,
full of quotes. I love it. This is just mic him up 24/7. I bet when he sleeps, he murmurs things in his sleep that's just hilarious. I'm going to take Baltimore too.
All right, next early game, Detroit at Chicago. We've talked at length about how terrible the Bears are. I'm going to go ahead and speak for Bo here. We're both taking Detroit.
Yep, I agree.
And the spread in that one, 7. Give me the spread too. Could be part of a parlay.
This would be a funny one. Who is the backup quarterback for Detroit, and how many yards will he throw for this weekend? I don't know who the backup quarterback is, but I guarantee he's going to throw some passes this week.
Isn't it a former Chiefs player?
I have no idea.
I'm going to have to look that up. Who is Chicago Bears backup?
This is one of those weekends where you could be the funny guy in some sort of office pool or something and pick this guy to throw a touchdown.
Oh, no, that's who it is. I knew I had followed their backup at one point. Former Notre Dame quarterback Jimmy the Pickle Clausen.
Oh my gosh, Jimmy Clausen, we're going to see him. He's playing Chicago this weekend. There's no way the starters play this entire game.
Okay, next game, Cleveland at Carolina. We talked about Johnny Manziel. I think he's going to have a bounce-back performance. I don't think it's going to be as abysmal, but we know Carolina has a great pass rush and a good secondary and just kind of good overall defense. I think that's a terrible matchup for him right now at this point in his career, especially considering how how Cincinnati sort of exposed a game plan, how you scheme to stop Johnny Manziel. So I don't think Carolina is going to have any problem with Cleveland.
I'm not going to get caught up in that because I seen Cincinnati already do that to Cleveland. That was no surprise to me. I think there's more matchup issues with those two teams than just scheme or a great defense. They don't match up well. But Cleveland against Carolina, those are two rosters that if you put them next to each other, outside of Cam Newton, Johnny Manziel, Crowell, the running back, and a few other receivers for Carolina, I couldn't tell you who played on which team. So, therefore, they are even, and I'm going to take Cleveland.
Oh, I see the formula at work there. That is very scientific. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Atlanta at New Orleans. New Orleans, I think we know from watching that Chicago game, isn't that good. In fact, this year, they've had trouble winning at home. I don't think that they're going to have as much trouble in this game, although the spread is 6 points for New Orleans. I wouldn't take that, but I think they're going to win it in a squeaker. Give me New Orleans.
I think in order to make good picks, you have to have a memory, and that's what I do. I'm photographic memory, and I remember this Sunday night game, Atlanta-Green Bay, and I also remember a game between New Orleans and no, it was Carolina and Green Bay, and New Orleans and Green Bay. Each game had something different to present. One game was just a great, huge blowout. The other game, the team kind of battled back to. The one thing I remember about Atlanta and Green Bay, Sean, is that if Roddy White didn't get hurt, they were going to come back in that game. That would have been interesting.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think Atlanta has more weapons. They know how to use them. There's a better system in place. New Orleans is just trying to get the ball to Jimmy Graham, Kenny Stills every once in a while, and featuring Colston as if this is 2006. Come on.
Speaking of Jimmy Graham, by the way, did you see him shove that water boy man?
No.
Yeah, he got off the field, went to the sidelines, was all pissed off, and just straight shoves a guy trying to hand him water. Come on,
that's
man.
not cool, man.
No,
There's no way for a ginger to be acting.
Guy's trying to hydrate you.
You can't act like that with red hair, Jimmy Graham.
Okay, so you're taking Atlanta in that one. Now on to the next game. Green Bay at Tampa Bay. Packers might have had trouble with the Bills Mafia, but I don't think Tampa Bay is nearly as hostile of a place to play this time of the year. It's a nice vacation for Aaron Rodgers and company. They get it done handily. I might even take the 10.5-point spread. Give me the Packers.
Jordy Nelson is going to go off.
Okay, now the game that I will be heavily anticipating, Kansas City at Pittsburgh. You folks know I'm a Chiefs fan. I'm not going to analyze this game. The Chiefs, of course, must win to have any hopes of making it in the playoffs, unless some weird crap happens with like every other team losing. I have to take the Chiefs, but I'll say I'm not confident about it. I'm taking them because I'm a fan, and I have to. You know what I'm talking about, people. Give me the Chiefs, Bo. What do you have to say?
It's a tough one for me because I sit here and I pick Baltimore based on defense. I'll pick other teams based on defense, but I know they can get me a touchdown pass. The failure to be able to throw the ball down the field and just hit them for a quick one every once in a while, it hurts you guys. And it's not like Jamal Charles is this every down back, give it to him 36 times, run him in the ground like the Cowboys chose to do.
Yeah, he's no DeMarco Murray.
We can't do that to him. I'm going to have to take Pittsburgh on this one.
I'll remember that, Bo. I'll remember that. All right, New England at the Jets. The Jets always have a habit of winning these games late in the year against the Patriots for some weird reason.
They're not trying to save Rex's job anymore, though.
Yeah, I'm not a believer. I don't think I would take the spread. It's New England by 10, but I'll take the Patriots to win the game.
Yep, we're getting into that part of the season where the backup quarterbacks will get to tell their moms to watch the game on Sunday. This might be another example of that. Get to find out who New England's backup quarterback is.
So you're taking the Patriots as well?
Of course.
Okay. Then the afternoon games. This one could be a little interesting. Giants at the Rams. As we've established, the Rams coming off a loss, not a win. The Giants, man, just a hard team to. I still don't know who the hell the Giants are. We know Odell Beckham is just playing lights out. I guess that'll continue. I guess. But those pesky Rams, this is a tough game to call. I'm going to let you pick first, Bo.
I'm going to go with the Giants in this game. It's an easy one for me. I think that they're already thinking about next year, and there's a new kind of focus. They're starting to get some offense going up there.
All right, to be a contrarian, I will pick the Rams. Make things interesting there. Okay, Buffalo at the Raiders. Spreading this game, Buffalo by 6. Sounds good, assuming no one gets stabbed. I'll take the Bills.
This is going to surprise you, but I'm taking Oakland.
There we go. There's one in the win column for Sean. All right, last afternoon game. The one Bo's going to be watching. He's going to be sweating. His palms are going to be clammy. Indianapolis travels to Dallas and that great home field advantage they have there.
Horrible.
Spread in this game, Dallas by 3, and Bo said he was surprised that they were favored in this game. I'm going to take the Colts to win easily. I think they win by 10 points.
Well, the difference between us and all the other teams that the Colts have been able to get themselves past through flags or penalties that Cleveland game, we all watched that a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It was horrible. They should have lost that game. Andrew Luck, you can throw picks against your division rivals, Houston, Jacksonville. You can throw picks against Cleveland. But the difference is with the Cowboys, we're going to make you pay for it in the form of a running game. Where the Cowboys capitalize on people this year that's different than in past years and what other teams don't have is this, Sean. We can run the ball. And when Andrew Luck throws these
hand
picks,
is broken, man.
It's an offensive line. You're going to see Randall will be able to get 80 yards, maybe a touchdown. He won't go for 135 and 2 touchdowns.
If you break DeMarco Murray and then make the playoffs,
we'll be just like you guys when you broke Charles after the greatest first half known to man and lost the game. We'll just be wounded. Oh, don't talk about that kind of stuff right now. You see, you're trying to bring me down into your world. See, I'm in a different place here, Sean. I'm looking at seeding. I'm looking at home field advantage. You're still looking at the wild card.
I'm a realist, Bo.
Don't bring me down to your level. I'm riding high on that horse, waving that flag, letting the whole world know that we are now the most expensive franchise on earth. Look in our rearview mirror at the New York Yankees. Would you ever thought you'd say that the
disgusting.
Cowboys would surpass the Yankees in money? Oh, I love it. This is a great week for a Cowboys fan.
What's the final score of this game going to be?
Oh, man. It's going to be a close one, but something late will happen, putting us up by 10. I see us doing something, it's going to be like a 38. Well, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, Sean. 28 points. Look at 28 points from Dallas. 28-17, something like that.
Okay, and then the nightcap, Seattle at Arizona. Oh, man, this is a tough one. I'm not confident in my pick. The spread, Seattle by 8 points. We know they don't play well on the road, though. I'll take Arizona in this one, Bo.
You're really going to take Arizona?
Just did.
I'm going to take Seattle.
All right, your Monday nighter. We now know that we'll have Grudenisms for years to come, as John Gruden has signed with ESPN to continue calling Monday nights for as long as their contract remains. So that's good. We'll have entertainment no matter how bad the games are on Monday night. As you know, Chiefs fan, I hate the Broncos. And it doesn't matter if the Bengals beat them from the Broncos' point of view. They already have it locked up. I'm going to be rooting for the Bengals, but I can't be giving away any picks, Bo. I can't be picking with my heart. I got to do what I think is the smart move. So I'm gonna take Broncos, even though I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Broncos in this one also. There's something I want to talk about, though, about that deal. I think it's really amazing, and maybe we don't know, but I believe behind the scenes, there's probably a lot more weight on Gruden and Madden in that position than we think. I mean, gosh, when we were kids, Sean, John Madden, when I go to Colts games, if he'd be calling it, you'd be looking up there in the booth at him more than you'd be looking down at the field, at Harbaugh and what was going on. And you have to think, when we were kids, remember the X and the O's that he would draw, and that was cutting-edge technology?
Oh, yeah.
You know, show the guard pulling and what they were trying to do. Now, you make jokes about this. I think it's funny when he talks about Sluggo. You know what Sluggo is. Like, we know what that is now. Like, think of where football is in our society because ABC has been able to lock down these great coaches to tell us what is going on in the field. They're able to interpret it. And I think it's a good thing because if Gruden was to leave that position, who are they going to go get? Herm Edwards? I don't know if Herm Edwards is going to be able to make us laugh like that. You got to be entertaining.
Do you remember how bad Monday nights were for a while?
Yeah.
Like trying to get Dennis Miller.
Oh,
yeah.
Dennis Miller, tell a joke, make everyone in the South and the Midwest go get a dictionary and a thesaurus to figure out what you're talking about.
I swear to God, when Tony Kornheiser was on Monday Night Football, he seemed to know very little about the actual game of football, but he had everyone's salaries and contract details memorized. It was the weirdest thing.
It was. And he would get off on these tangents that were so unrelated to football. It's like he wanted to be covering politics or something. It's like, Tony, there's a game going on the field. Give it up, buddy. But I'm glad that we have a good Monday night cast that could hopefully take me in to the first stroke. Just ride that wave. Me and Gruden all the way. Wings and beer, baby.
Yeah, that's going to happen, Bo. So you're taking Denver in that game?
Yeah, I'm a smart man. You know, I have been dusting you off these past couple weeks.
We'll see this tally. I'm going to get the tally together, and we'll present it next week. So I still think I'm ahead because I was blowing you out by like 6 games consecutive weeks there at the beginning of this.
Yeah, but I've been going 14-2, 12-4. I mean, some good things going on over here in this camp.
This is going to end just like the Cowboys season.
What, in the Super Bowl?
Yeah. That's what's going to happen to the Cowboys. All right. Well, this story caught my eye. No Bigfoot talk this week, but there could be a sea creature, Bo, that washed ashore in California. I saw this because my man Dawson from the Adam Carolla show, producer and voice of that show, who I've actually talked to on Twitter, has given me some good advice about audio setups and that sort of stuff. But he retweeted this story. It's this creature, and we'll retweet it at Sean and Bo Show if you'd like to go check it out right now, at Sean and Bo Show. It's a creature that washed up on shore. I showed you the picture, Bo. Could be a bear. Could be you were saying like maybe some sort of hybrid.
Yeah, it was right along the lines of man bear pig. When I looked at it, that thing looked like man bear pig.
I think it looks like I mean, it's either a dog that has kind of bloated up, or the chupacabra, and I'm going to say the chupacabra.
And I think it's amazing
It's got big canines on it.
Things can like float from the shores of Japan up on the shores of the west coast of the United States, and nothing try to eat it, bite off a leg along the way. Yeah, there's a lot of things out there that are hungry, I imagine, sharks, whales, whatever, but it makes it all the way over here. What you just said about the dog, somebody throwing out a dog, that's a good one right there. But maybe there's some island out in the Pacific, ocean. Dr. Moreau's out there. He's got a lot of private funding.
I'm pretty sure there are some islands out there. I'll fact check that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And you got some billionaire out there with a big yacht. He's privately funded. We don't know what's going on. And he's making things. It's not that far-fetched. We don't know what's going on out there. It's a big world.
So you say a genetically modified beast. I say the chupacabra. I think both equally likely as Dallas making it to the Super Bowl, at least.
There's no way that those two things even correlate. I don't know what kind of formulas you have going on over there, but I want to check your math.
I'll tell you how they correlate. You know who that billionaire out on that island is?
Who?
Jerry Jones.
He's out there trying to create the perfect specimen. He wants the perfect athlete.
He's got to replace DeMarco Murray somehow.
Spray tan is a tough man to replace. Not only can he break NFL records, but he can ruin relationships while doing it.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Sean and Bo Show. Remember to go check that picture out on Twitter at Sean and Bo Show. Until next week, I'm Sean O'Donnell along with Bo Greer reminding you, tip your pizza man.
See you next week.